Welcome, Hard Knocks. KK the Destroyer here, bringing you your Hard Knocks news. Season 3. We are on a tear. 48-hour advances are the norm. And what are we, a month away from the release of the new game? And our special
Crazy.
guest tonight is...
Me? I'm not really special, but
Yeah, you're not really special. It's Greg, new Ravens owner, taking over
new.
that Scrub Lord team, taking them to the playoffs, something Coach couldn't do. Sorry. So welcome back, Greg. I'm glad to have you.
Definitely, I'll be here, for the long haul, like I am
And real
every
quick,
year.
um, is your voice shared in broadcast? You want to check that real quick?
It is, but I will double check just
You
to make
better
sure.
double check because we've had a couple people say that it was
Because
that.
Penn
Yeah,
had that issue. I remember
Penn
that.
had that issue, and he had been podcasting with us on the regular, so better double check.
Allow your voice to be shared. Always allow.
Okay,
Boom.
perfect. And with us as always is Mikey. Mikey, are you there?
Is Mike here? No. Oh.
Mikey, Colts owner. Hmm. He's not currently
Ghosted
here.
us.
My kind of like his number of wins. He's just nowhere to be found. It's kind of weird. All right, so uh, obviously we're season 3. We're really early in the season. There's not really a whole lot to kind of discuss at this point. I feel like it's too early to really do any predictions. Plus, we already kind of know who's going to win the divisions, wouldn't you say, Greg?
Yeah, for the most part, there might be a few divisions that might have a team or two
Yeah,
that
so
would
I
take it,
figured
but
we would jump into kind of a hot or not segment and kind of look at each division and see how they're shaking out to start the season and determine, if somebody is having a hot start or someone is not having a hot start. So we're going to actually start in your division, AFC North. We got the Browns at 2-0, Steelers 1-2, Ravens 2-1, Bengals 0-2, CPU team. There's really nothing to really take from this division at this point, in my view. It's super close to tell, so we're gonna skip on past this one. Uh, AFC South, obviously Manny's 3-0, not a surprise. But Danny, once again, 2-0 to start the season. He's looking pretty good. Have you actually had to play Danny this year, or not this year, this league at all?
previous league before this one, the
Previous
old
one,
one we
okay.
had, I played him.
Yeah, he's been having great success.
He's
Really,
improved, definitely.
yeah, absolutely. He's playing great, so I'm really happy to see that. So I would say, Danny's hot once again. He was hot last year and the year before. Um, Jaguars, on the other hand, 0-2 to start the season. Ilstein's having a rough go. Season 1 of the reboot, he was on fire, killing it.
Couldn't make
And
playoffs.
yeah, and then season 2 kind of, he had a playoff run, but I think he missed the playoffs. And then here we are, season 3 starts 0-2. The one thing I'll say is season 1, I believe he started off poorly and rallied. So have you had a chance to play him at all
Previous league, yeah, I played him.
previously?
He's past happy. He was the Lions, Lions rolling.
Yes.
So
Uh, Manny says he broke him, is what is happening. So he crushed his spirit, I guess.
he,
Uh,
I think I played him twice, and he threw like 12 interceptions in those 2 games. So
but I'll tell you, another guy, I think he was relatively new to CFM and had a dramatic improvement over the course of the year. So let's see. I will ask Jags that question.
I just want to hop on Mikey's case here right now, and he's 0-2 with a goose egg for points for. How do you have no points? How have you scored no points this season?
Woo! That's rough.
0 and
So
70.
yeah, so the Jags said he was new to CFM this year. So I mean that's a really good improvement because
It
going
is.
in and playing users in a CFM that have been doing it for a while, that's not an easy thing to do. It's a huge learning curve, but he's obviously picked it up, and I expect him to do really well next year. So like
Me
you
too,
said,
says Manny.
the Colts 0-2. Mikey, I'm just gonna say I know he's been super busy. He is currently painting his own house, and so that's why he bailed on us tonight. Uh, I'm assuming he might pop in later, but we'll check it out. But I think, man, 0 points scored. I mean, that is brutal. I
It's rough.
I mean, even I am not that bad.
I had to toss my PlayStation out the damn window. 0 points.
So we'll pop over to the AFC East. We got TBK leading 2-0. That looks pretty good. Bills 2-1. Patriots 1-2. Jets 0-2.
Nothing
Uh,
surprising there.
yeah, Jabbar, you know, he had a really good first season, and I think he just missed his opportunity to take the Patriots to a playoff spot. I think he dropped 5 games early and then came back and to compete in season one. You weren't here for that, but not really a whole lot to speak of. The two players in that division that I expect to compete are competing. And then we get to the AFC West. Bright spot: Chargers 2-1. My man Dar leading the
Darrell.
division. What do you think about that?
After so many seasons of seeing him go with 1 or 2 wins, I guess it's good to see him at 2-1. Hopefully, win some more games, Dar.
And his
Make a
points for is
believer out
pretty
of me.
solid. I mean, 62 and 38 points against. So, I mean, why don't you pull up his schedule real quick? We'll see if he's for real or not.
See who he's beating. See.
Man, he says I need to light a fire under, I'm assuming Jabbar, because that's what I did season one. I called him trash, and then he came back to compete.
He beat Jewel, and he beat the Giants. He lost to Danny by 3 points.
Ooh, that's solid, you know. Danny's beating people. He beat me. I know that. I may not be people, but he beats people. Uh, Obviously, Willie Nelson 1-1. Probably hasn't played his week 3 game yet, so we can come back to this. And the Raiders 0-2. You might know who this person is. It's Coach. Coach is back. He wanted to get back in. I was happy to get him back in. I don't know if you weren't here for kind of what happened with Coach, were you?
Uh, I think I caught the tail end of it because the moment he got kicked out and you said you aren't welcome back or some shit like that,
That's right.
that's when
You came in.
I got gifted the Ravens. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
the best team. I mean, I don't know, maybe not the best team, but like one of the most OP players. Who, by the way, you just traded. Like, what the fuck?
I've gotten. It's the last season we're gonna play. I'm just messing around a little bit.
But why
so.
why trade him to Penn of all people? Like, why not trade him to somebody else?
Penn's gonna make good use of him, I think. And Penn's gonna win anyway. You know, that's just who he is.
And Manny's not happy with you. He said you destroyed the Ravens. You're a bum.
I am a bum.
Yeah, like honestly, the way I looked at that trade is the only people it really truly affects is the top echelon of players, the ones who are gonna be in the conference finals that have to play against him, because Penn was already gonna beat the majority of the league with Tommy Stevens anyway. It didn't matter. Now he makes him even harder to beat for the top tier players. So,
You know what? I just didn't want Manny to win the Super Bowl, so I gave Penn Lamar.
well, I mean, come on. Let's just say, like, Manny lucked out that he didn't have to play Penn in the Super Bowl, because Penn won every single Super Bowl. Like, any Super Bowl he was in, he won. He's got 5 this year. It's stupid. And
He's just that good.
I forget. I think he lost to. Did he lose to Jern last season?
Yeah, he lost to
Yeah.
Jern in the playoffs.
So, like,
running a different playbook.
Manny just needs to thank Jern for beating Penn, because that's the only reason he got the Super Bowl. Am I right?
Yeah.
Let me see. I'm gonna have to make a response. What is the hashtag? It's it's not. It's tell me I'm wrong, or that
I
one
don't
dude,
know.
the dude that goes to the college campuses and Tries to rile everybody up. He's got a table, and it
Sure.
says, "Oh man, I don't remember." Anyway, I suck. Terrible. Okay. Anyway, going back, we have Coach. Coach is back. I'm glad he is back. I think his personality adds a lot to the league. Him and I had a good conversation, and really what it comes down to is, and this goes for everybody. I mean, when I have to sanction somebody for doing something that we have rules against, I just expect you to go, you know what? I may not agree with your perspective, but I understand the rule and I know why it exists, so I'm going to accept it. You don't have to agree with it. You don't have to think I'm right, but as a commissioner, I have to make a ruling and I have to consider the impact of any infraction over all the leagues. So, like, you know what? If you can't accept it, then you can't be here. And that was the one thing that Coach was willing to accept to come back. I said, look, man, if I have to sanction you, you have to be willing to accept it. Otherwise, you're not coming back. And he said, yeah, I can do that. And so I'm glad to have him back. So I think we can move off of Coach coming back, and hopefully he can keep his shit straight. That's all I can say. Stay off the roids, dude.
Thanks for the
So
Ravens.
NFC North. Uh, let's see. This division so far pretty even. Not really a whole lot to say about it. Lions 0-2, so that sucks. But the Vikings 1-1 seems to be a slow starter every time, but seems to always beat me out of a playoff spot. So he's doing something right. And Johnny Sin sitting atop of the division 2-1, not a big deal. NFC South looks to be the best division in the league so far, which is bizarre. Okay, hold on. I take that back because the Saints are sitting at
Bizarre.
2-0, and that is DeGrim Reefer, and I'm pretty sure he doesn't finish anywhere. I think he finishes fourth in his division, maybe third, because the Panthers is there, and the Panthers is too busy crying about me banging his mom, so he can't actually make the playoffs. So I take that back. So you got JP 2-0, and then you got Penn at 2-1. Who did Penn lose to?
I'll check here quick. That boy just not even trying anymore. He lost to Jern 30-7.
Whew. Yeah, I mean that's a tough game. What are you gonna do? Jern's a good quality opponent, so
You want to know how you know Penn wasn't trying? He lost the turnover battle 5-1. That's how you
yikes.
know that Penn was just messing around.
Right. NFC East, we got the Eagles, Jern 3-0. Giants is Wisdom at 1-2, so we'll see what he can pull out. And then the rest, we got a CPU team, and then we got Jewel at 0-2. NFC West looks pretty competitive at this point. You got Sib 2-1, UGW 2-1, and then Slick 2-1. The Niners are 0-2. I don't think he's even played a game yet. So I think the surprise as of yet is the Rams 2-1. Sib, he had a really bad season last year. I think he got a forced win already, so I think that contributes to his wins. You want to look up the Rams schedule at this point?
Sure. He did his first game against the 49ers was a force. Then he beat the Colts 42-0.
Whew.
And then he lost to Slick. He got with Slick 34-6.
Gotcha. So he's riding the force win. What about the Cardinals?
The Cardinals, they made the playoffs last year.
They
He was
did.
like the surprise dude.
Yeah.
He beat the Lions and the Giants, and he lost to Manny.
Lions and Giants lost to Manny, so not really been tested yet. And then Manny sitting at 2-1, or not Manny, Slick sitting at 2-1. What does the Seahawks schedule look like?
Beat the Vikings, beat the Rams, lost to Penn.
Okay, and the Vikings, like I said, seems to be solid. I don't even know what his username Lotogo or whatever. But
I know you
he
see it.
Oh, that's I know you see it. I'm sorry, Lodago is like the lion, so I know you see it. Definitely solid. He beats me every time I play him, so not too bad. And then the Niners, I think, are just MIA at this point. So really, not a whole lot to take away from the divisions. Like I said, my questions were whether the Chargers were hot or not, and then the Jags obviously starting not hot, along with the Colts, and then the Rams 2-1. But we, after looking at that schedule, I mean, it is what it is. He's got one win, one loss, and a forced win. So I think that
Yeah,
kind of wraps up
everybody's
divisions.
kind of everybody's where we expect, kind of.
Yeah, and at this point, I mean, like I said, we're early in the season here, so it's going to have to be a few more weeks before we can really dive in and look at who we project to win the divisions and whatnot. So from there, I think we should go ahead and jump into the rushing leaders. You want to take over that side of things there, Greg?
Yeah, sure. Early on in the season, but I've got a few guys here that are sit at the top of the rushing leaderboards that have incredible yards per carry, and the first guy is Zach Moss for the Bills, who's averaging 11.5 yards a carry on 44 carries. Like I said,
That's a
early in the year, so I mean it's not super crazy, but I mean it is at the same time. If he can hold 11.5 yards a carry out to the end of the season, that would be absolutely ridiculous.
yeah, that's pretty absurd.
No, I mean, and there's 4 or 5 of them that are absolutely outrageous. Todd Gurley for the Falcons, 11.3 yards per carry. Aaron Jones for the Packers is at 12 yards a carry.
Right. Had
And then
had significantly fewer attempts than that Zach Moss did, though.
Yeah,
26
Aaron
attempts.
Jones is 26 attempts, and then Corey Grant for Jern is just
Yeah.
averaging a stupid amount. He's basically 14 yards per carry, 13.9, but he's only got 22 carries, so I mean,
Right.
take it with a grain of salt.
Well, I do know that Jern has another. At least that he did have another halfback before, um, and I forget who it was. I'm sure we could probably pull it up real quick. I'll go jump to that. So, Eagles have. Good lord. Oh, Miles Sanders. So between the two of them, they have 36 carries, but Corey Grant seems to have the most success for him. Miles Sanders averaging just 5.6, like just 5.6.
I
On
wonder what he's doing with Corey Grant because he's nothing but a speedster. That guy has no. I mean, unless Jordan built him up, that guy's nothing but fast. Like
No,
he
he
has no
shouldn't
kind of real
because
running
Miles
skills.
Sanders has jukebox and he's got human joystick. So I don't. I mean, and he doesn't show him as being hurt. So maybe he's just
Yeah,
running.
Corey Grant's a 72 overall, and like I said, he's got 98 speed, only 90 acceleration. So like, and he doesn't have any kind of good run skills. His
Hmm.
best running skill looks to be 81 juke move.
So maybe it's just one
So
of those things like,
he's hitting home runs
yeah,
with this guy is what
exactly.
he's doing.
He just might happen to be on the field when he busts that run.
Yeah.
That's huge.
Other than that, everybody's quite pedestrian. Anthony McFarland for Manny. I mean, Manny's good. I mean,
Yeah, I
he's
mean,
right up
still
there with
11.2.
11 yards. Yep.
I mean,
Everybody else kind of seems to be normal.
it's crazy the average yards per carry. I mean, you have to go down a ways before you get to
5
4 yards a carry.
or
I
4,
mean,
yeah.
yeah, I mean, basically the middle of the league is 4 yards a carry. So, I mean, but some absolutely ridiculous numbers in rushing. But it is still the beginning of the season, so, they're kind of
Yeah,
skewed
I
that
mean,
way.
that'll all level out. Yep.
It will.
Receiving, I mean, the Rams. Who's the Rams? Sib. He leads the league in receiving,
What?
and it's not close. It's not even close. He's
I
got
can't even. Oh, there it is. Okay.
138 more yards than any other player.
Yeah. Wow.
Followed by a tight end, which is different. The Panthers, who I think is that a CPU team or is that a
No,
real
that's
player?
SOS GOW or SNS GOW.
Okay.
And my
But he's
game is
getting his
glitching
yards.
hard right now. I can't even view the receiving stats.
Oh.
That's a trip.
Yeah, it's so early. I mean, you've got players averaging like for the Jets, someone's averaging 30 yards per reception, which is outrageous.
Right. What about passing? What do we got passing? Looks like we got Deshaun Watson, 774 yards.
Teddy Bridgewater.
Let's see. We got Teddy Bridgewater with 11 INTs and 1 TD, so that's pretty great. Jabbar's Jarrett Stidham. The Stidham experiment not working out for him, 7 of 11. Let's see. Let's look at these terrible INTs.
Justin Fields for the Eagles. Jern's playing good with him.
Wow.
74% completion.
Coach Mikey just destroying Trevor Lawrence. 16 INTs, no TDs. That is
he doesn't have
rough.
Any points, remember? He's got none.
Yeah, I know it. It's crazy. So are you looking at the passing leaders at all right now?
Yeah.
All right, why don't you take over, because I got to go throw some shade at Mikey right now.
Throw some shade? Well, you... Let's start. I'm going to go with touchdowns rather than yards. I don't give a shit about yards. Touchdowns, it's Justin Fields with Jern. Couple that with that Corey Clement, or not Corey Clement, Jesus Christ. The halfback he's got, averaging 14 yards a carry, and Justin Fields is averaging, what's he averaging? 250 a game about, along with his 9 touchdowns, only 3 interceptions. He's being super proficient. Probably the best quarterback in the league right now.
Yeah, he got a nice TD-INT ratio. That's solid.
And then Stidham is actually second for touchdown passes, even though he's got 11 picks. So take that with a grain of salt, I suppose. And then you got Deshaun. I mean, after those two, it drops down to 6. So
yeah,
Deshaun Watson's got 6. Jared Goff has 6. Daniel Jones with 5. I mean, the TD to INT ratio is terrible for everybody except for Watson and Fields.
Yeah.
5 and 12. 5 and 12. 5 and 12.
Yeah, no doubt. God, what's mine? I gotta go find me. I got that. Oh, there he is. 1 and 7. Matt Corral of the Bears. 1 and 7. That's right.
So
that's
for me. What am I at? So I traded Lamar, but I threw 8 interceptions with Lamar through 2 games, and I think 2 touchdowns. So 2 and 8, and then I think I threw 2 with Stevens and 1 touchdown. So I'm at 3 and 10 right now. That's my TD-INT ratio right now.
Right.
Terrible.
Tommy Stevens, 3 and 8. So not really a whole lot to look at there. I guess the other
is garbage this year.
Yeah, the other stat I would like to go look at real briefly before we move along is team stats, because this was something I thought was kind of interesting, was looking at the third down conversion rate for everybody. So let's see, third down percentage. Let's see, is that the right one? Third down conversions. Yeah. So you get the Rams. Well, they had a forced win, so we're not going to count them. The Chiefs, Frank B, 16 of 31 with a 51% third down percentage. So I guess we'll sort them that way. So I guess Broncos. So we got Coach Willie Nelson getting it done on third down, 57%. And then you got the Chiefs at 51%. Man, these stats are just so jacked, because we got the Saints at 50%. And the Jaguars, 47%. I know he's played all 3 of his games, or at least 2. What is he? He's 0-2 right now? Yeah. So, he's got a decent third down percentage, but just can't get the wins. Jern's at 47%. Myself at 47%.
I mean,
this is a mess.
Are
you?
I've got to be towards the bottom. Yeah, I'm not good in general. 33%.
33%. So, and the funny thing about third down percentage, though, is that only measures how many times you convert third down. Like, what about the players that are, never really seeing third down?
Third downs. Yeah.
You might only get a couple opportunities because they're just killing you on first and second down anyway. So, interesting stats to start with there. Turnovers, we'll look at that real quick. So, the differential. Texans with 10, Eagles with 10, TBK with 9. Quietly getting it done with 9 in his turnover differential. That's solid.
I'm typically way up there, but
you typically are, but you are currently way down there at 0.
I'm at 0. Yeah. I'm still forcing a ton of takeaways, I bet.
You know who's better than you at turnover differential?
Who?
Me. I got one. So, so we'll go ahead and move along to the Madden 21 draft lottery. I think that's the route we're going to go ahead and go. Mikey was
Think so.
supposed to be on this podcast to kind of talk about this stuff. So, Greg and I had talked about it a little bit, shared the ideas that Mikey and I had. I think we did decide that we would like to go with the draft lottery format, like the NBA draft lottery, having multiple balls for teams or for owners that one played through multiple seasons, were committed the entire year, and then also contributed to the league, whether it be, you know, being a commissioner or writing an article like Freshly Baked Buns did, even though he didn't finish this season. He wrote a couple articles. Jewel wrote articles. People who took part in podcasts and also took part in the live stream commentary. I think the commentary really adds something to the league, makes it kind of interesting.
That
So I
brings an
want to.
awesome dynamic. There's an
It
awesome
really
dynamic
does.
to the
Like
league.
season one of this reboot, we had several games that were commentated. We commentated, I think, season one Super Bowl and season three. I don't know if season two got it. Uh, Manny's asking me, "Where's the love for the streamers, you bish?" Uh, I mean, I feel like streaming is one of those things that should just be automatic. Like you shouldn't really be rewarded for streaming,
You should be punished if you don't stream.
right? Like so many leagues try to do the punishment for not streaming, but the punishment is never a punishment. Nobody ever gets punished. It's just like some fake thing that never happens. But I think like stream should be something you do because that makes the league interesting. Like you should automatically do that. You shouldn't be rewarded for it. Um, so yeah, that's the route we're going to look at is providing multiple, you know, additional chances for those players that have done so. I've compiled a list of owners that we will be taking into 21. Um, as of now, we have a couple. I mean, coach jumping back has kind of thrown a monkey wrench into the
Wrench.
list, and I got to kind of look at where we're at because we are at 32 teams, and with coach it takes us to 33. So, I mean, I don't know how we're going to resolve that. I think some people are,
Someone's getting the ass into the deal.
it seems that way, and maybe it's coach. Maybe coach gets the ass end of the deal. I don't know, but we'll see how this season shakes out and what we got. But we have a full league going into 21. We're going to do that lottery, and then what? The question that I have for everybody is how we should go about selecting teams, because obviously JP wants us to get rid of TBK, so that's his vote, Gulag style. um, is how do we select teams? Because we kind of shot these ideas around me and Greg, and one one school of thought was that we could every owner chooses a list of their top 10 teams and says, my first selection is X, second, third, fourth, all the way through 10. Once we have the draft order selected, we could then assign those teams to their given players and ideally come to a scenario where we have all 32 teams selected, and then we could present that on a future podcast, which will probably be, mid-season, and
Yeah.
show you the team selection. That's one avenue. The other avenue is whether or not we should just do a completely random team selection. And that one, Greg, why don't you go ahead and explain what your thought was on that?
The team selection process?
Yes. So say we do our draft lottery, we have the team selection selected. Like we know the pick order. So how would we
Right.
go about selecting teams in a completely random fashion?
So, my idea, I don't know if everyone's going to like this. I'm guessing probably not. I told KK right away that most people probably wouldn't like it. But it's something that I would really enjoy seeing. Just so the homers can't pick their favorite teams. like someone's not just picking an OP team just because. Uh, what we'd do is we'd have the teams numbered 1 through 32, and we'd have them in a preset list, right? We would then number our players 1 through 32 in a randomizer, and each number that you were designated. So say we run this randomizer, and KK is pick number 1. Then he would get matched up with team number 1, and that's the team he would have. And 26 would get 26, 24 would get 24, and it would just be to me, it would be a very fair way to do it. I understand that the skill level in here can be quite extreme. You know, the difference between Manny and some of the bottom tier players is absolutely enormous. I mean, Manny could just mess around for 3.5 quarters, probably be down 14 points, and come away with 2.5 minutes left and score 21 on you. But I mean, like I said, I mean, it seems like a fair way to do it, but I don't really think many people are going to be interested in it. I think people want their pick rather than to be matched up with a random team.
Yeah, probably.
I mean, I'm all for it, though.
I would agree that most people are probably going to want to have a choice in their team. And then you got the Jags, who's really concerned about not being in Manny's division. I like his idea of sticking Manny, Jern, Penn, and I would say you in that division, or Slick. But the problem with that is, and I've seen this before, I mean, it's kind of happened anyway. But
yeah,
like,
it's a risky run anyway. I mean, the beginning of this year's game, the AFC was super heavy, super top heavy. It was me, Penn was over there. I believe Manny was over there too, and the AFC just dominated, like swept the Super Bowl. Obviously, Penn.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's that part of it, and Manny says Slick over you, so he thinks it should be Manny, Jern, Penn, and Slick because you don't stack up. I guess is what he's saying. You're not top tier.
Maybe I mean, yeah, I might not be. I'm maybe I'm outside looking in, but I'm just on the outside.
No, but I do agree. Like, I mean, AFC, conferences can be top heavy, and I don't know that there's a lot to do with it. Unless we were like, we went crazy and we were like, okay, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna take the top tier, we're gonna split them up, AFC, NFC, and then, we divvy up the rest of the teams based on, overall skill. And I mean, that would be kind of an interesting thing.
What sucks on that, though, is so if you're divvying it up, like your best players, you're trying to keep them on separate conferences, like that's top tier stuff. Like I understand it for the top tier, like, oh yeah, we want the 2 best players to meet in the Super Bowl, but all these guys, like the other 20 other guys that are in the game, now they're subjected to having these top guys in their divisions and possibly not making the playoffs or having some sort of Cinderella run. And it's give and take any way you look at it.
Which is what that was the point I was getting to, is like creating that super division seems like a great idea because somebody will get left out in the cold. But what usually happens when you do that is you have the one division winner and both wild cards coming out of that super strong division. And I think the reality of the situation is you're almost better off having, those top tier players separated in each division and giving some of the lesser skilled teams opportunities at wild card that they wouldn't otherwise have if you create a super division. Right. So, but then also in 21, we're going to have 2 extra wild card teams, are we not?
Yeah, they're going to give us 10, right?
Yeah, I think so.
So 1 extra per.
So that's kind of interesting. So that was the other theory was, go ahead and, assigning random numbers to teams to coordinate with the random pick number of the owners to create a completely truly random team assignment. Or then we also have the ability to still do the draft lottery and then create the pick order like we typically did in the preceding 7 seasons outside of last year or this year. We would always just create a list based on seniority, activity, and whatever that order was, when it was your turn to pick, you just went ahead and chose your team, which allows for people to, pick divisions to be in or not be in. I'm talking to you, Jags. Stay out of Manny's division. So stuff like that. So um, I guess I would go ahead and ask Greg. You want to type this into chat? Ask everybody. How would you like to see the draft order? Would you like it to be completely random, team selection, or your top 10 teams? I guess theoretically, I should probably type this up.
We should make a poll.
Yeah, I was gonna say I can make a little quick poll about it. JP likes the random sounds fun.
Yeah, it does. I mean it. But I can also understand how maybe a lower skill level player wants a good team. So if a good team's up there, they want to be like, oh, I need this team. It'll help me compete better.
Right.
And like I said, it's give and take with every format we have.
So while I'm typing this up, why don't you carry on this conversation here for a moment, if you can.
Well, yeah, I mean, well, we were just talking about draft. I don't even see another way for the draft order to be. I mean, last year or this year, I should say, we just did a total randomizer, right?
Mm-hmm.
You just gave me every single player that was going to be in the league, and I just randomized them.
And weirdly, you were like top 5, right? Weirdly.
Weirdly. I think I traded down though, if I remember right. I traded to somebody.
Which begs the question, like this is something that always gets brought up at the beginning of team selection is, should we allow team trading?
Yeah, I remember some years we have, and some years we haven't. It's just, it depends on the year, I suppose. But I don't know. Ever since I thought about it, I've really liked the idea of just the totally random draft, the truly random draft. I feel like there shouldn't be any kind of complaint towards it. You're stuck. You're given what you got.
Right. So we had the completely random draft, a team selection draft,
and a lottery with list.
Let's see. And then what was the third one? Oh, it was top 10 teams.
Yeah, only a month. I can't wait. I'm ready to roll in Madden 21. I've got 2 vacation days I'm gonna take. I'm just gonna go hard. In MUT, of course. Oh, that's a big question I wanted to ask you.
Uh-huh.
We are notorious for starting like two weeks to a month after Madden drops, and I know it's because people need to get the game and crap.
Right.
But like, what are we thinking this year? Are we thinking still 2 weeks to a month? Are people actually gonna? Everyone in the chat, are we gonna get on the ball and get the game in the first like 2 or 3 days so we can start a league up?
That's quickly? A great question. I mean, like, we are. I mean, typically it's 2 to 3 weeks, I think, before we start. And I would love to be able to just, get the game. And I guess what I should back up and say, typically what happens, the reason we choose to start later is because we want people to have the game before they start selecting their team, in case the new game plays in a way that they're like, well, I think I'd rather have this. And I think we could probably scrap that entire idea of, like, you know what, let's play the game before we decide. I think we should just be like, you know what, we can make our team selection, say we do this podcast in 2 weeks. We get our draft order selected. Well, I was going to say, like, we can do this podcast to release the teams that are in it and their team selection in 2 weeks. And then game lands on, what, August 25th or 26th? We're like, we already know who everybody's taking, so you better have the game, get the game. But then you just run into the problem of who doesn't get the game,
immediately.
Because
I mean, it seems like not everybody, it seems like at least 2/3 of the league plays the game pretty regularly, and wants to play it. So I don't see why at least 2/3 of the league wouldn't have the game within the first 3 days. And I mean, I'm gonna pre-order it, and I'm gonna get the game 2 days early based on the
Right.
pre-order. I mean, I'm not counting the pre-order date. I'm just talking the actual release date. Why somebody? I mean, it's gonna drop on a. I think it's gonna drop on a Friday,
Right.
if I
I
remember
guess
right.
what I would like to see happen is if the game does drop on the 25th or 26th, I would think there's probably not a whole lot of reason we couldn't start by like the 5th. Because, I mean, if you think about it in terms of like when people get paid, most people get paid around the 1st, right?
Hmm.
So, 26 is like the end of the month. Some people will be like, I don't really have the money to run out and buy the game. So I'm waiting to get paid. So maybe we could look at starting that league, you know, right at the beginning of the month. And I feel like we have a really solid group of guys coming into 21 that, most everybody's going to have the game right away. So I don't see why we couldn't. And
I'm
see, the
hoping
Jags
so.
is one of those that's saying a week to learn the game in teams makes sense, which it does. But once again, I mean, everybody's ready to play, and I think we should just get started as soon as
Yeah,
possible.
yeah. I was just gonna say this. Manny beat me to it. He said it's the same game. Like, what the
Mm-hmm.
fuck are you learning? Like, eh, as much as I want to say I hope it's different, it's almost guaranteed to be the same game with very slight changes.
Right.
The beta felt a little bit heavier and
Yeah.
slower on defense, but I mean, this it was the same feeling, just slower. I mean, it's you're gonna feel like you're playing a slower version of 20 when you get 21, and you just have to learn what's OP and what's not. If you're really into it.
I love Ilstein's comment. He says, "This is how you decide who to eliminate that 33rd team. It's whoever doesn't buy the game."
That's a good idea.
That's a
The last one
great
to buy
idea.
it's out. The last one to
Like,
buy it's out. I'd say
yeah.
that.
I mean, I think that's the best way. It's like if you don't have the game when we're ready to start, then you're not in. I
Bye-bye.
love it. And then Penn just piped in. I'm starting out not playing in the league because he's a dick. But
He
random
said
would
it
probably
wouldn't not be the most fun.
would.
Why
Oh
not?
wait, but
He had a
random
not.
would probably the most fun would not be the problem. Okay, whatever. So I like it. I like Jag's idea. I think we're gonna go with that. So
That's a good idea. It's not biased. It's just if you're not ready when we are, then
yeah, then I mean,
peace.
because there's no reason to start the season with a force win. I mean, we should, everybody that's playing in this league right now, this late in the season, is because you want to play. Like, I mean, you're into CFM, you want to be a part of it. So, find a way. If you get paid on the 15th, then hopefully, you save money this month. I don't know what to tell you.
Oh, we said it would be the most fun. Okay, Penn's changing
Okay.
it. He said it would be the most, and it would be, in my opinion. I'll completely agree with anybody who votes for the totally random selection. That that's the most fun. I mean, you don't know what you're getting until the day of selection, and the anticipation's there. It's like, who am I getting? What do I have to work with? You know, I don't know. Rather than
Yeah,
having a list of or a list of teams where it's like, okay, I got a quarterback here on this team, or I've got a really good running back and wide receiver on this team. I know what I'm working with, no matter who I get. I like the randomization and the just the unknowingness of it all.
well, I think it adds something interesting to team selection for sure. But then at the same rate, you might have somebody that's like, well, I hate this team or I don't want to be a part of this team. That
And just
it,
dip
it
out because they don't want the team.
perhaps like I mean they might be just less enthusiastic because it's not the team that they want. Whereas, like myself or you or a lot of other players that are just going to be like, you know what, I don't care what team I get. I'm just going to play the game because I play CFM and I like to be a part of this community. So I'm just going to make this league better because I'm in it.
Well, okay,
And
so you were talking about that just now. The
mhm.
same thing happens when you just do a random draft order. It's like, oh, I'm down at the bottom,
Yeah,
and
oh
my
yeah, for
like
sure.
three teams that I wanted are gone, and I don't care anymore. I'm just gonna pick whoever and just
It
that's
does.
crap.
Yeah, I guess you're right. It probably happens no matter what.
I'll be happy no matter what way we do it. I just let's fast forward a month, please.
Well, like Manny said, I mean, all that's going to happen is you're going to play 2 seasons and then you're just going to bail.
He said 2 months. So that's
Okay,
like
2 months.
Seasons.
Okay,
But,
3 seasons. Okay.
But I usually don't dip out until like
No,
5
you
months
don't.
in, so,
You don't
yeah.
dip out. You're consistent.
This year
So,
was probably actually the earliest I've quit.
yeah.
February, I think I was out.
Well, I guess this will wrap up this episode of the podcast. So I would ask that everybody go out, vote, and you know what? I'm not opposed to just going with whatever the majority of the league wants to do for team selection because I don't really have a preference. I think any of the ideas that we floated just now are pretty good. So I'd be happy either way. So go out there, react to that post, and
Cast your vote. It's a democracy.
that's right. Until I say it's not. Eh. So, thanks for joining. Glad to have you back, Greg, and thanks for coming out, Mikey. So glad you were a part of this.
Nice talking to you, Mike. I know
yeah.
you're there somewhere.
And we'll catch you next week. I think we'll plan to jump on and take a look at divisions, see what's going on with the league, and we'll see you later.
See you later, guys.